I've been talking a lot about engaging and what that means. And I'm talking about saying no comment to the character. So I want to go a little deeper into why this matters and how to actually recognize what you are responding to. Because it's not the situation that keeps something alive in your life. It does not have the power to do so. It needs your participation to stay alive or relevant. So it's continuing in the conversation with the character that keeps a conversation in motion. And just like with a person you may be speaking with, if you leave the conversation, they got to leave it too. Or they're just talking into the abyss. Let them. It no longer affects you. Anything you keep communicating with, mentally, emotionally, internally, stays energized, and it affects you, and it keeps looping. Anything you stop engaging with dissolves. Think about it in a simple way. If you stop watering a plant, you stop caring for it entirely. You don't let it get sunlight. You stop tending to it. It doesn't fight you. It just fades. It returns to nothing. The same thing happens with experiences you don't want, whether it's money, stress, health stories, relationship issues, anxiety, regret, fear. They don't stay because they're powerful. They stay because they're being fed by you. And the food in this example is continued conversation. It can just be your thoughts. And every time you try to explain it, every time you revisit it, every time you ask, what if this means blank? Every time you try to fix it mentally, that's communication. And communication is participation. So when I say no comment, I don't mean suppressing thoughts. I don't mean pretending nothing is happening. And I don't mean ignoring something that needs practical attention. I mean this. You do what needs to be done, and then you end the conversation. You don't keep it going. For example, health. Let's say you notice something in your body. Do what's appropriate. Maybe you rest, you support yourself, you get help if needed. But once you've done that, continuing on in commentary is optional. And this is where people don't realize they're keeping things alive. The character wants to keep talking. Sure, it wants to say, what if this gets worse? What if this never heals? What if this is permanent? That's not information. That's noise. And when you answer it, you're feeding it. So instead, withdraw. Say no comment. Refuse the invitation. Not because you're afraid or in denial, but because you're no longer allowing yourself to be available to rehearse a story you no longer want to live in. Here's something I noticed very clearly the other day. I was going about my day and had the thought, did I do that already? Did I finish that text? Immediately, there was a response in my mind as awareness. Yes, you did. Not, I did. You did. And it stopped me because that wasn't the character talking to itself. That was awareness responding to the character. Calm, neutral, no emotion, no urgency, just information. And that's a really important distinction. There is communication from awareness, and there is conversation with the character. They are not the same thing. Awareness always gives simple, direct feedback. It doesn't argue or spiral. It doesn't dramatize. The character, on the other hand, wants dialogue and lots of drama. It wants to process. It wants reassurance. It wants certainty. It wants to keep the story alive. And you can feel the difference. One feels calm. The other feels sticky. One resolves quickly. The other keeps looping. And over time, you get very familiar with the difference, just as the way you recognize the voice of someone you know well. Your best friend doesn't need to announce who they are when they speak. You just know. It's the same here. At first, you may not be sure, but with practice, it becomes obvious. Awareness doesn't pull you in. The character does. Awareness doesn't need agreement. The character does. Awareness doesn't need continuation. The character survives and actually thrives on it. So, when something shows up that you don't want to keep experiencing, the question isn't, how do I fix this? It's, am I still talking to this? Because as long as you are, you're keeping it warm and alive. When you stop communicating, when you stop feeding it with explanation, concern, prediction, rehearsal, it doesn't punish you. It doesn't chase you. It fades. Not because you forced it away, but because it was never self-sustaining. It only lived on your attention. And that's why no comment is so powerful. It's not resistance, it's withdrawal. You're not fighting the character, you're just no longer available to it. And when you stop participating, what you don't want naturally loses momentum and returns to where it came from. Nothing. This part can feel a little tricky at first, not because it's complicated, but because it's subtle. And if it's misunderstood, people tend to keep the very thing they don't want alive and much longer than necessary by continuing to engage with it. That's why I say, once you see it, stop communicating with it. Some things dissolve quickly, others take a little time, but they all fade when they're no longer being fed. If you feel like you understand this conceptually, but you're not sure how to apply it in real situations, or you notice yourself slipping back into the conversation, this is exactly what I work with people on privately. I do one-on-one sessions around this, and if that feels supportive for you, you can reach me through the email link in my bio. Don't stay stuck in confusion. Misunderstanding only keeps the loop running.